Thank you all for inviting me to speak with you today on the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. My name is Meghan Hawkins, and I am a senior at Hall High School. I believe that it is important for me to start by explaining that I am not a member of the Black community. I do not and will not ever know the experience of those who identify as Black. However, despite my difference in experience, I acknowledge that Dr. King should not just be an inspiration to the Black community. Martin Luther King has stood for many things: the hope of a progressing nation, the impact of peaceful movements, and for some, the scary notion that change is inevitable and oppression no longer will be tolerated. His inspiration is individual and undoubtedly one's own. To me, Dr. King gives hope. As a white passing person of color, I have watched my friends grapple with their own race and what it means. I myself had to learn where I fit as a white Latina. It is not an easy process, but looking at the history books and watching his I Have a Dream speech, I see a whole sea of colors in his crowds. Dr. King united more than just one community. Today we see marches for equality with many different people, all united in one goal. He gave me that understanding that we are not alone. Someone is listening to our cries and rising up with us. I began to see that dream of his, and I hope, just as he did, that it will one day truly be realized. No matter our race, gender, creed, sexuality, or nationality, I believe we all have some Dr. King in us. We have a drive to make life better for ourselves and others. Dr. King is especially important to those who want to stop living in fear. Dr. King expressed they were harried by day and haunted by night by a corroding sense of fear and a nagging sense of nobodiness. Even today we see a fear in what those in power can do to those without power. The fear of families being separated by ICE, the fear of coming out to a conservative parent, the fear of walking home at night. Fear can be a powerful hindrance or a formidable force of motivation. It does not take a hero to fight for the safety of themselves, their children, parents, family, friends, and even complete strangers from different continents. In the end, Dr. King's message was all about how we can all help each other create a world worthy of our children. This past year has been a hard one. 2020 has been unkind to even the best of souls. It brought into light things that had been long overshadowed: the discrepancy between the rich and the poor, our failing healthcare system, people's disregard for one another, and most importantly, that society is still not as equal as it should be. As Dr. King once said, we must first honestly recognize where we are now. Are we content with where we are now? Are we satisfied with how things are? How could we answer to people who say things are better than they've ever been for minorities, so quit complaining? Sure, we have made great leaps of progress, but what I must ask is, since when has better been the point of when we stop trying? Better may be good, but it's not the end goal by any means. But so what? What can you do about it? What can I do about it? This question seemed to have come up a lot during our time at home, a time when we are faced with a situation that is out of our control. One's reaction to this can take many different forms. I personally spent this time advocating for a more inclusive history curriculum. I used my AP research class to explore the issue of representation in history textbooks, which led me to write and present the perceived inclusivity of the U.S. history textbooks. Thankfully, in this day and age, researching and presenting can be done without direct human interaction. Those I present my findings to have the same enthusiasm I find within my own body, and often ask, so what can we do? My typical answer is, whatever you can. Martin Luther King Jr. and those leaders who organized with him did not start out world changers. They started tired. Tired of those who took more than they gave, frustrated at the way the world had turned out. I think we can all relate to that. I mean the kind of tired where one's soul is a single disaster away from being shattered. The kind of tired that goes beyond helplessness and steps into fierce determination. Millions of people, including myself, marched in the streets, sat during protests, and rallied together during a literal pandemic. If that doesn't show how fed up we are, I don't know what does. To answer the question, what next, I'm afraid I will have to leave you on a bit of a cliffhanger. There is no set answer. But if I've learned anything, it's that 2021 won't magically be better than 2020. The world is spiraling out of control. and it's up to us to stabilize it. Hold corporations accountable. Push for better education and minimization of the wealth gap, and most importantly, look out for one another. You don't have to change the world to change yourself. Change is change, no matter how small. Sometimes the best thing you can do is become comfortable and proud of who you are as a person. Know your own worth. I don't have to be black to understand the importance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., just as you shouldn't have to be me to understand that I have importance. That everyone does. Thank you.